gentlemen, it's time for another Redbox Review with your host, Cool Whip and Sugar Cane!
Cool Whip and Sugar Cane, Redbox Movie Review. Yeah, it's Cool Whip and Sugar Cane.
And now please welcome two guys who thought a Redbox was a side effect of Viagra, Cool Whip and Sugar Cane!
Succotash.
Welcome to Cool Whip and Sugar Cane's Redbox Movie Reviews. I'm Cool Whip.
I'm Sugar Cane.
And I'm Juicebox.
And we are here bringing back something that has been locked away in a box for a very long time. Pardon the pun there. But Cool Whip and Sugar Cane's Redbox Movie Reviews is a podcast where we go review a movie formerly that came out of a Redbox. But this week we all decided to go to the movies. And we're going to review Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, Quentin Tarantino's highly anticipated 9th film, which is a bit confusing. And speaking of confusing, for those of you out there expecting an episode of Raising Nashville this week, this is our persona from a previous podcast where obviously we reviewed movies.
Yeah, we did a lot of Redbox movies, so this is kind of nice to actually do a decent feature film.
Sure,
not straight to DVD.
And with Cool Whip and Sugar Cane's Redbox Movie Reviews, I think we did a podcast of about 40 different episodes of movies that we saw, including the famed movies that really stood out to me. One was Haunted Casino.
Oh, God.
Do you remember that one?
Yeah, terrible.
Yeah.
Oh, man. For me, Hobo with a Shotgun.
Pretty awesome.
That movie was something else.
So Cool Whip and Sugar Cane are back, and we are ready because this week we went to the movies to see Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, and we're excited to talk about it, kind of give our review on the film, and then get into a little Tarantino-related subject matter throughout this because it's a big deal right now. To me, it's always a big deal when Quentin Tarantino releases a movie.
Right.
It started in the late 80s, early 90s with Reservoir Dogs, and it has continued 9 films, which, to be honest with you, Sugar Cane, I actually think this was the 10th film. And if you do the math correctly, it shows that it's the 10th film, but he's claiming 9.
What else did he direct? 4 Rooms? His section in 4 Rooms?
I'm not counting 4 Rooms. For those of you who don't know, he did direct a room in the movie 4 Rooms. If I'm not mistaken, also he wrote the script for True Romance and sold it to make Reservoir Dogs.
Right.
So that was a big deal. He also is credited for writing, is it From Dusk Till Dawn?
He's, I think, co-writer.
He wrote, him and Robert Rodriguez
wrote that.
Split it or whatever, I guess, basically. He
there
did
were
the first half.
Couple of other
he
things
also
he
wrote
did.
Natural Born Killers.
That was it. That's the one I was thinking of.
But he wanted to, after Oliver Stone made it, he wanted to take his name off of it because he said he changed the script, changed it so much from what it was originally.
Yeah. So, I mean, he has accolades in writing and producing and but obviously directing. And back to why I think this is the 10th film is because when you count them, Reservoir Dogs was number 1. Mm-hmm. Pulp Fiction was number 2. Jackie Brown comes in number 3. If I'm not mistaken, the next were Kill Bill Volume 1 and Kill Bill Volume 2. That brings us up to 5, right? Mm-hmm. And then you've got Inglourious Bastards. Death Proof. Django Unchained. Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, and The Hateful Eight. That, if I'm counting correctly, is 10 films.
So I guess he's just counting Kill Bill as one movie.
Correct. And I had to go back and look at this, and it is, and he originally intended it for it to be one movie, but every producer and seller out there in Hollywood basically said you can't put out a 4.5-hour movie. It's just not going to sell, and people aren't going to go to it. So he ends up splitting it up and releasing it year after year. But this week, we're actually going to review one of his movies, because all of us went to see Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, and most of you have seen previews out there in the preface for this, which is, it's basically a story of a failed actor and his stunt double or stunt partner, trying to make it through a Hollywood they no longer exist in. And it also has to do with Hollywood in 1969, which most people out there know was the time of the Charlie Manson murders.
Yeah, TV was becoming really big. He's DiCaprio's character. I wouldn't say he's a failed actor. He's just becoming more and more obsolete.
Yeah.
Movies are starting to take off, and TV acting is, or I guess not movies are taking off. I guess TV's playing more of a mainstay.
Sure.
So, yeah, it's interesting. So this is his
period piece.
Yeah, I guess you could say that. I think it's certainly an ode to Hollywood.
Yeah.
Real quick, so you guys saw the movie earlier in the week, and I had to go see it last night to catch up. And I just want to tell this quick story. So I had to see it at 9:30 at night, and it's a long movie. It's 3 hours long, and of course, I can't. I have compulsions. I got a large popcorn and 2 bags of candy.
Of course you did.
And I woke up at 6 a.m. this morning and threw it all up.
Oh, man.
So I had to tell my daughter that
You actually got sick from popcorn.
I actually got sick from
Yeah,
popcorn.
that's great.
Man.
Yep.
Yep.
It's tough, man.
For those of you old fans of Cool Whip and Sugarcane's Redbox Movie Reviews, we always kicked off the episode with a segment, which was our favorite segment on the thing. It's where we read the plot from the movie that is posted online, and then we kick it back to Juicebox for a segment called
Plot by Juicebox.
Okay, IMDb description. A faded television actor and his stunt double strive to achieve fame and success in the film industry during the final years of Hollywood's golden age in 1969 Los Angeles.
That is about as vague as you can get. So what we
Yeah.
like to do is we kick it back to Juicebox for his thoughts on the movie and a plot straight from him.
In 1969 Los Angeles, a dude that's a really good actor and Brad Pitt drive around in a car, smoke cigarettes, and drink. There's a murder or not a murder, and there's a flamethrower. The end.
And that'll sum it up. I mean, that gets
Yeah.
your juices flowing to go see a movie, right? I heard flamethrower right at the end, which immediately I want to go see that.
I heard
Yeah.
drinking and smoking cigarettes, man.
That was one thing. One note I took, or one note I made, was that it was like borderline painful to watch Leonardo DiCaprio smoke cigs in this movie.
That's true.
Like, it was just like he portrayed the person that had smoked way too many cigarettes in their life perfectly. Like, there was a couple times where he's like taking a hit off the smoke and like coughing and gagging. It's like, oh my God, this is killing me.
But yeah, like Juicebox said, stars Leonardo DiCaprio. We'll go through some actors in this. Brad Pitt. It's
Margot
got
Robbie.
Margot Robbie. Those were the famous build actors. Now, with Tarantino films, I always love the kind of supporting cast because he is notorious for bringing in all of these actors who either are part of his inner circle or actors that he loves, or a random appearance by,
Samuel Jackson.
no, the guy with the first and last name that you could switch.
Keith David?
Channing Tatum.
I was thinking David Keith.
No, that's for another day.
That's a different,
Yeah. So, the supporting cast in this one is pretty long. I mean, you have like Dakota Fanning, and you haven't heard her name in forever.
Yeah.
Al Pacino's in it,
Al Pacino. Actually, yeah, I made some notes on Pacino.
which is Al Pacino makes an appearance, and then Kurt Russell is notorious. He's been in a few Tarantino films. Michael Madsen makes yet another Tarantino appearance in this movie.
God, such a small part too. That was like just enough Michael Madsen.
I didn't know if that was him or some old lady. I was like, dude, what is happening?
He has definitely not aged well.
No.
That was tough. Bruce Dern is in it.
Bruce Dern?
I thought Bruce Dern was dead. That was a pleasant surprise because he's awesome. He's been in some great movies.
He's also been in a Tarantino film in The Hateful Eight. He's the guy in the chair. What stood out to me was the little girl. My wife watches a show called American Housewife or something. It's like a sitcom that comes on Wednesday nights, ABC. And the youngest daughter is in this
Atlanta?
movie. No, not Real Housewives. American Housewife. So the youngest daughter is in that. In this film, and I think she does a pretty good job. There are a few others that, like, one of my favorite is every time I see a Zoe Bell sighting, because she is the stunt actress who
Oh, yeah.
has been in with Tarantino since Kill Bill.
Right.
She did all the stunts in Kill Bill. She was like basically put on a pedestal in Death Proof.
Yep.
And then she's done every female stunt in Tarantino movies, and she got another acting role in this one.
Luke Perry had a quick
right.
little cameo.
Luke Perry's last film ever.
Timothy Oliphant, which that
Yep.
prosthetic on it, I was very distracted. I was like, this dude just doesn't look
Yeah, his
healthy or something.
Yeah, he was weird. I didn't love him in this
Which
movie.
one was he?
He's the actor opposite DiCaprio in the TV show.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
He's been in like The Girl Next Door and a bunch of TV stuff.
Yeah,
from what I remember.
Yeah.
Yep.
I was surprised Samuel L. Jackson wasn't in the movie.
Dude, I made a note about that. I just kept waiting for him to pop up.
Just
like-
something, right?
And fun. I mean, well, interesting fact: there are no African American people in this movie.
That's another. I noted that too.
I did not notice that.
Yeah, which I mean, he's usually very diverse, and I mean, nothing. There wasn't anything, and I mean, maybe that's a play on the times. Cause
I think that's a commentary, like a comment on
Hollywood.
at that point in time.
Yeah, because it's all Western and yeah, FBI shows, cop shows.
Who plays Charles Manson? I can't remember what that guy's name is.
Steve Zahn.
Definitely not.
Clearly, Steve
I
Zahn.
hope that's not who you saw.
His name is Damon Harriman.
Yeah.
Who is that guy?
I don't know, but he had a very small part in this movie. If you think that it has a lot to do with Charles Manson, it doesn't. In fact, I think
Nope.
he is in the movie for 30 seconds.
Yeah.
Which is actually good. I'm glad.
So it just happens to be around the time of the Manson murders, and the Manson family is kind of prevalent in more or less a scene or two in this movie.
The Manson family is, yeah, and it's with that. I guess, are we spoiling things or what are we doing?
I guess we're gonna have to just say spoiler alert.
If you
'cause-
haven't seen this movie by now, well, you can stop this podcast.
yeah, I mean we're gonna talk about it. So
Yeah. So it's an alternate timeline on the Manson murders.
Sure.
And that's clearly, I mean, it's heavily involved. So yeah, that's what it is.
Which
But
Tarantino has used in the past. This
alternate timelines.
Yes.
Yeah.
It kind of gives you that Inglourious Bastards feel.
Well, yeah, I feel like he's just built his own alternate reality.
Sure.
Like where things have happened differently.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
That's a good way to put it.
Yeah. So I wonder if Inglourious Bastards is in the same timeline as this film. Do you
I think so.
so.
I did read this, which is an interesting fact about Tarantino, is that Inglourious Bastards was written and ready to go before the Kill Bill idea even started.
Yeah, I'd read he'd had that under his.
Yeah.
And I'd always read this and thought it was hilarious, but apparently Inglourious Bastards is the product of a night of hanging out with Brad Pitt and drinking 8 bottles of wine and smoking like 5 joints. And apparently they woke up the next day, they don't remember what happened the night before, and the script was written on the table. That is the legend of how Inglourious Bastards came to light.
Oh, I thought.
Is that when they decided that Brad Pitt was gonna do that fucking accent from Inglourious Basterds?
I think.
I know I've told you guys this like off mic a million times, but I cannot stand his accent in that movie. Like, first, it takes me out of the movie. Like,
I completely agree that not everything Tarantino does is gold.
no.
I think he makes mistakes, he corrects those mistakes, and other mistakes come from that.
Yeah, I just don't think Brad Pitt's a great actor.
I do not either, man.
I mean-
I never really have. I feel like he's always just got that fucking stupid half smirk on his face in like every single role that he's in, and everything he does.
He's just a good-looking dude. That's pretty much
That's
it.
why you don't like
Yeah.
him.
No. I mean,
That's
I don't
why I
think,
don't like him.
I mean, I think DiCaprio's probably a good-looking dude too, right? But I mean, DiCaprio's clearly got some acting chops. Brad Pitt, I think you just put him in there and have him say whatever. That his accent in this isn't great. He's just kind of.
But with that, I think it was him.
All right,
Yeah.
Nah, I don't.
With that being said, I might be the only person in the room that thought that Brad Pitt did a really good job in this movie. And I thought the movie was actually more centered around him than it was DiCaprio after seeing it. Or he gets some pretty he gets better scenes.
I mean, they're
times.
co-stars. They both
Yeah.
get about the same amount of screen time for sure.
Yeah.
And they're playing completely different role, yeah.
I think from the outset of the movie, it begins with the newscaster's interviewing him at the beginning, and he's like, "Well, tell me, what do you do?" And he's like, Cliff Booth, he pretty much carries my load. Is that true? Yeah, I carry his load. That's pretty much what happens in this movie.
Yeah,
Sure.
exactly.
I mean, he carries the violence, he carries the, and then who gets all the glory? It's Homeboy.
So let me ask you guys this: if they switched the roles, if Brad Pitt played Rick fucking Dalton, and
You have to say
Leo-
that when
yeah,
you mention his
exactly.
name.
and Leo played Cliff or whatever. I feel like Leo could have played Cliff. I don't feel like Brad Pitt could have played
agree.
fucking Dalton.
I don't
I
think
agree.
Leo could have played Cliff. I don't think he's got the body type for it. And there are a lot of shirtless Brad Pitt scenes in this movie.
I think Caprio could get the body. That's not a problem. I think he'd kill it as Cliff. I think he'd probably do a better job.
I don't think he would.
He could probably play both parts.
See, I'm exact opposite of you guys in the fact that I don't think Leonardo DiCaprio is that good of an actor, and I think he plays the same
Man.
role in every movie he's in. He's kind of like my.
Brad Pitt.
Yeah.
Oh no!
Brad Pitt is the same dude.
Denzel Washington.
Yeah.
He's considered an incredible actor. Same person in every movie.
Oh, Dick.
I think Leo's the same way, except in this one he added a stutter.
I disagree, man.
I think DiCaprio is the only
Yeah.
reason this movie.
Okay. Let
feel like
me take it back. Leo in Tarantino movies has opportunities to get a little out there. Like, one of my favorite scenes from any Tarantino movie ever is Django Unchained, where he's talking about old Ben with that skull at the dinner table. Now, that was something I was just like, whoa about. But everything
Sure.
up to that, I was like, he's playing this candy guy, and he's just an asshole Leo. And then
Yeah.
this one, he was just a stuttering Leo.
See, I don't know, man. There was so many subtleties to this character in this to Rick fucking Dalton. Like,
Yeah.
he killed it. Like
Yeah.
you said, you say a stutter. That's just like a minor little thing, like that he's built on top of this character to like make this guy seem like kind of like an insecure mess that knows his career is like on the downward slope. Everything he does is just perfect in this movie.
I agree.
Like, I'm gonna go off on a tangent here.
Okay.
The scene where he's acting and he's fucking up his lines and he like has to do a retake, and then they show his whole little meltdown in his trailer after that, and he's like pep talking himself and then he goes back out and just crushes that next scene. Like, that scene gave me like chills. It was just like so, I mean, it was so powerful. Like, everybody has those moments where they're just like have to pep talk themselves or shit talk themselves, or like, dude, I fucked up. What the fuck is wrong with me? Like,
Okay,
Yes.
I mean, I'll give you that. When he's staring in that mirror in that trailer and he takes on two different people,
Yeah.
to me, that was hilarious.
he's like, I'll go home and blow your fucking brains out of the pool tonight. I'll fucking do it. Like,
So there's few actors that act in a film that they play an actor that's also playing other roles. Like, I think of Robert Downey Jr. in Tropic Thunder, and I know that's a comedy, but to think that same scene, I'm deeply impressed with it. I think when Tarantino does something great, it's flawless. And there's a few instances of flawless in here, and that's one of them. But they got Timothy. They're doing that scene in the saloon, and they switch around. They pan around Timothy Oliphant, and DiCaprio fucks his lines up.
Yeah.
So he fucks his lines up. All right. So DiCaprio's an actor playing
An actor.
an actor who's playing a part, and he fucks his lines up, and then he comes out of that, and he's like, "Oh, I'm sorry, man, I fucked my lines up. Can we do it again?" And then they shoot it again, and he gets the line right. There's layers there. There's depth.
Yep.
It's killer, man.
And it's also followed up by probably one of the best individual scenes in the movie, which is when he's got the little girl hostage and Timothy Oliphant walks in. And that, to me, with the girl, with him, everything happening in that scene, it's almost like Tarantino took you out of the movie you were watching and put you in that movie or that TV show.
yeah.
And that happens a couple of times in this movie.
Yeah.
And that's why I like it so much, because there's so many different opportunities for you to go inside something else in this movie, which is that layer of depth you've talked about. Like when Margot Robbie's going to watch her film in the theater and you go inside that movie. And
it was the original Sharon Tate. Like, I like that they didn't like reshoot that or whatever. They just showed the original movie. That
is a good point.
That was a nice touch.
Yeah, it was awesome.
That's funny. I could have cut that whole scene out of that movie. I was like, what? Does this even belong here?
He was
like,
building a character at that point
that has no arc. Get it out.
Sure. So if we want to talk about scenes, that is to me probably top 2 or top 3 scenes in the movie. Another one to me, one of my favorite scenes, is from the time Brad Pitt climbs up on top of that house to fix his antenna to the time it shoots back to Brad Pitt, when it goes back to the reason why he is not with DiCaprio on that set is because he did something on a previous set that kind of got him kicked off, and it's the same guy running it. And
okay, so that's what that was. Okay.
Yeah.
I couldn't tell like what the time frame of that was, like why.
Yeah, the whole scene there with Bruce Lee, if you've seen the movie, you know what I'm talking about. That whole scene was the reason why he couldn't go with Leo that one day.
Okay.
And further, it goes to another memory of him potentially killing his wife.
Oh yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
It's like Inception.
I've got some questions about that too. Like, is that a character that's supposed to be based off a real person, like a real stuntman or something? Because I feel like they talk about that and then they just gloss over it. So I don't know. I didn't know if it was like referring to something that actually happened in Hollywood in the '60s that I just don't know about, or
it very well could be, because I think Rick Dalton's based off Clint Eastwood.
Do you?
Absolutely. He's a TV actor in Western. He briefly did some singing, tried to get into like a singing genre, and like that part where DiCaprio's on stage singing with those girls dancing is spot on for an Eastwood. Eastwood did that.
I don't think Eastwood would have ever done that.
And then he gets out of that and gets into movies, and
that's interesting.
Yeah, I think it's Eastwood.
Just while we're talking about that scene right there, real quick, does Quentin Tarantino have some weird beef with Bruce Lee? Because I feel like he kind of made him look like a bitch in this movie.
No, he definitely did, and that's been the height of some controversy out there. It's like all Bruce Lee's camp and descendants and great-granddaughters of Bruce Lee or whatever, they're all up in arms about how he portrayed Bruce Lee in this movie, because he just gets his ass kicked by Brad Pitt.
Right, yeah.
And
they just make him out to be like just a little shit-talking, like, I don't know, like his whole character is just kind of...
Right, but I think actually, I was talking with my dad earlier about it, and my dad and I have had this conversation for a long time about Bruce Lee and Muhammad Ali. It was a real thing back in the day. Like they hype in a fight between the two, and so I think that part's real. And I think most red-blooded Americans think that Muhammad Ali would whip the shit out of Bruce Lee. I mean, a boxer would beat a martial artist is what the argument is.
Sure. But the scene's incredible. I think the way it wraps up with Zoe Bell owning the lot or whatever, and then her husband is Kurt Russell, who's the stunt man, which to me is funny. A straight callback to Death Proof. I mean, he just reprises his role.
It's pretty good. It's so different from other scenes. Like all the scenes are just a little different. It's weird, but yeah.
It's kind of cut together in not a Pulp Fiction type way, but a Pulp Fiction type way with a linear straightforwardness. It doesn't go back and forth and back. It's just a bunch of different stuff put together.
Right.
To build this time in history.
Right. Yeah. But they like that's so comedic. There's scenes in it that are so cartoonishly comedic and kind of. But then, like, when there's also, like, parts that are suspenseful where the camera angle's, like, at angles, which is very 60s horror movie suspense. He does these things, but it's the story as a whole, I don't know, it's odd. It's a little weird.
Sure.
So speaking of the way other people are portrayed in this movie, Roman Polanski is just like Austin Powers. Is like that? Is that how it really was in the '60s? Is that like
so? Crushed or velvet suits?
Yeah,
and
driving a tiny car.
Yeah,
pirate shirts.
With like the feathered pirate shirt. Yeah, all that.
Yeah, I think so. Like that whole another thing. Like that whole scene with the Playboy Mansion.
Yeah.
What was that accomplishing?
I don't know either. I don't really understand that because it was just like. There was no point to it.
I think he just wanted to show what the Playboy Mansion looked like in 1969.
Looks the same.
Yeah, I guess so. And that dude that was playing Steve McQueen, that's
Right.
I can't remember his name, Damien something or other. Like he kind of looks like Steve McQueen looked in the '60s. So
Sure.
maybe that was just like the excuse. We're just like, hey, you kind of look like Steve McQueen. Let's put him in this role.
I
And
wrote
give him one line.
Yeah.
I wrote that down. I was like, what was this scene about? Was it just for that one joke that Sharon Tate has a certain type of men that looks like a 12-year-old boy?
Okay, so then was it just to make another dig at Roman Polanski? Like we'll dress him up like Austin Powers, and then we'll make this dig that he looks like a 12-year-old boy.
Maybe.
See, I'm going to say it's just explaining the relationship of why everybody was in the house that night.
I mean, I
Jay
think
Sebring's character.
Well, and also this it's kind of like what it's like. Their careers are mirroring each other, but on a different trajectory. Like she's going up and she's becoming more popular, and she's like going to the Playboy Mansion and blah blah blah. And Rick is like, meanwhile, on the downward slope of his career. So it's just kind of like that parallel right there of showing him going up and down. Because I can't remember what. Was he like at home drinking and going over his lines like while that was happening?
Right.
I think, or,
Basically, yeah.
Okay, so one scene that I have a question about, it's when he's shooting the Western with Timothy Oliphant or however you say that guy's name. And they're talking about the Great Escape, the Steve McQueen movie, and he's like, did you almost have that part? And then they show Leo in that part. Is that supposed to be implying that like he was cast in the movie and then was like fired, kind of like Eric Stoltz in Back to the Future? Or is that like what was that trying to imply?
I wondered about that too, and I think that's him seeing it in his own mind, that him playing that part. Is what I think.
He could have played
That's
it.
a good point.
Okay.
That's the way I interpreted it. But
Yeah, there was, like you said, there was just like random scenes in this movie that kind of threw me off a little bit.
You're right.
Couldn't place him in the timeline of what was happening.
Something I noted. Tarantino, his foot fetish is clear and present in this. We got some dirty old feet on screen.
With the ranch, the Spawn Ranch.
Yeah.
Well, that too, but when
the hippie.
when the chick is in the theater too, watching her own movie, she puts her feet up on the seat.
got
And it's
Margot-
like nasty ass feet.
He's got a foot thing, dude.
Yeah.
Clearly.
With that being said, on Cool Whip and Sugarcane, we have a few segments that we want to bring to you guys. A lot of you might remember this, but we have one segment where we call it our movie marriage. And it's where we try to take 2 and sometimes maybe 3 movies and say which of these movies got together and kind of had Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. What does it remind you of? And we've been doing this for a while, so
It's time for this week's movie marriage.
I need to tell you something. I'm pregnant.
Are you sure?
I got 7 kids. I think I know what I'm talking about.
oh man, it's been a while since I've heard that. And I will actually give our listenership out there $5 if you go on our Instagram and make a comment saying what movie that is from. That sound clip right there.
Yeah. Okay.
I don't even think that
I know.
Sugarcane could figure it out.
I know what movie.
But on Movie Marriage, we're going to take a couple of movies and put them together and say, this is Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. Who wants to go first?
This was a tough one.
Don't speak up now.
It is tough.
My first one was Boogie Nights, because I feel like that's kind of like the same thing. Dude has like has a great career, slowly goes down. He's like trying to do whatever to make money and stay famous. But I don't know what my second one is. I was trying to not pick a Quentin Tarantino movie, but I almost feel like it's like Death Proof or something.
Okay.
Just because the stuntman aspect.
The stunt he likes stunt people.
It was tough to think of. I mean, this movie was. I went into it thinking it was going to be dumb, and I wasn't going to like it. But it's kind of unique. I mean, it's got its own thing, and I don't know. It's really good.
You can't talk about, and I know Juicebox did his best to not reference a Quentin Tarantino film, but it's hard because to me, when I went to see Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, my movie marriage would be all 8 Quentin Tarantino films got together in a bedroom and had an orgy, and one of them got pregnant, and that's what this was.
All right, which ones?
Which
I mean,
I think Jackie Brown was the carrier of the baby.
Okay.
And spit this one out.
All right. Who inserted?
Oh God. This is gonna go off the rails, but We don't know. It was a mystery.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Lights off.
Yeah.
All right. Okay. I got you. I'm with you on the Jackie Brown because my movie marriage is Jackie Brown and The Big Lebowski, and I'll explain. All right. Jackie Brown. I'll full disclosure. I've never made it through. I've tried to watch it like 5 different times. I fell asleep each time. There are parts of this movie that drag the fuck out. Way too much driving. Way too much music.
He really had a hard on for the music. In this one.
I was like, man, maybe Zack Snyder did his score. So and then The Big Lebowski, because it also has elements of Hollywood. There's comic aspects. It's there's a little bit of slapstick. So I think, but there's also good acting, and there's some drama pieces in it. So I think those are my two couplings.
Sure. Well, and now that we've done that, I mean, we might as well go into it. And we've all seen the film. We've all given you an idea of, some of the scenes we wanted to talk about. But we also like to rate movies on Cool Whip and Sugarcane's Redbox Movie Reviews.
Yes,
and we all
do.
have our rating system. And this rating system has come a long way and evolved over time. And just briefly, we want to go through it for you guys who have never heard Cool Whip and Sugarcane's Redbox Movie Reviews. We have a rating system of 3, whether you like the movie, were okay with the movie, or just disliked it altogether. I'm going to go with mine, which is the most disliked would get this rating.
If God meant to do it that way, he'd all be pissing in your faces.
Looks fine to me.
And then if I was okay with the movie,
Come on, I got it! I don't got it. You klutz.
and then if I absolutely loved the film.
I just saw the most amazing thing in my entire life.
So obviously all my rating system is from the Goonies, and this week, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood is gonna get...
Come on, I got it! I don't got it. You klutz.
And the only reason I say that is because I was so pumped to go see this movie. I actually went to see it by myself at noon. I took my lunch break from work the day it came out and went to see it. And
your boss isn't
I
listening.
think
That's a long lunch break.
It is a very long lunch, 2.5 hour lunch break. And I hyped myself up way too much, and I've got to go see it again. And that's what Tarantino, it doesn't really sink in until the second or third time I've actually seen it. So that's my rating right now.
Okay. I think that's a pretty good synopsis. All right. So my lowest rating. My middle of the road rating.
So be it, Jedi.
And my top dog rating.
Impressive. Most impressive.
Hell yeah.
Yep.
I kind of want to hear that again, but I'm gonna go
So be it, Jedi.
because I'm with you. There are things in this movie that are absolutely flawless, and there are things in here that are just, I'm like, what is this? I don't know, what am I watching here? So and it just that's it. Yeah, I think it's good. It's worth seeing. It's still Tarantino. It's better than half the shit out there.
Okay, so my lowest rating is
Buzz, your girlfriend. Woof.
middle of the road,
Guys, I'm eating junk and watching rubbish. You better come out and stop me.
and the top one,
A lovely cheese pizza just for me.
obviously all from Home Alone. I'm gonna go
A lovely cheese pizza just for me.
because I went into this movie thinking it was gonna just be okay. I'm not the biggest Quentin Tarantino fan. I do like a lot of his movies. Like the first time I saw Pulp Fiction, that changed my life as far as like realizing what a movie could possibly be.
True.
Yep.
So I went into this movie thinking it was just going to be okay. And then I was very surprised with how good it actually was. The true testament, I feel like, for me is like, I got out of the movie, I was like, yeah, that was pretty good. I continued to like think about scenes and think about the movie like into, next day at work and stuff like that, which
To me, I'm still thinking about it.
Yeah,
I want to go see it again.
that's what I'm saying. I really like, after the fact, thinking about it more really made me appreciate it even more. So I don't know. I think it's definitely worth seeing.
Yeah. Yeah.
Even if you're a moderate Quentin Tarantino fan.
Absolutely.
Do we need to, and this is something we did not discuss, do we need to get into the final scene of the movie And this is where, the reality really takes a turn from history.
Let's not spoil it. I mean, we've talked about some spoilers. Let's leave that off.
Sure. If you haven't seen this, it ends with a bang. And it's one of those bangs where it's a bang which way you look at it. Like, you're kind of confused, you're kind of excited, you're kind of like, what's going on? And then when it's over, you're like, oh, I got it.
I would like to know where I could get a 50-cent cigarette like that, though.
Oh, yeah.
A what?
An acid dip cigarette.
Yeah.
Yeah,
there's a great part in the movie where Brad Pitt gets an acid dipped cigarette, which I guess they were handing out on Hollywood Boulevard in 1969.
Yes, so.
For 50 cents.
For only 50 cents.
Got a whole change jar, y'all.
Yeah. I will say one thing when we talk about the comedic part of Tarantino in this movie is I loved when DiCaprio comes out of the house with the full pitcher of frozen margaritas in the middle of the cul-de-sac and confronts those kids in that car.
At him. Yeah.
That shit to me, I mean, that's straight 69 get off my lawn Tarantino. It was pretty awesome.
Yeah. That was great. So I got a couple more notes I want to just throw out there, see things I noticed. So they have the Wilhelm scream within like the first 45 seconds of this movie.
The what?
The Wilhelm scream, which is like the scream that's in like
every movie.
Yeah, it's been in like 500 movies, and it was originally used like in the early 50s in like a Western or something like that.
Yeah.
And now it's just like it's like an Easter egg that's in movies.
Gotcha.
So it was like first scene when they're showing somebody, I think, fall off the roof and
Get
in
shot.
that TV shit. Yeah, they show that. Yeah.
We could play it right here.
I gotcha.
You've never heard it.
It's one of those things. It's like once you know what it's called and like realize it, like you notice it in every single movie.
Yeah.
Another note I had was I don't know if you guys noticed, but the dog food flavor was raccoon flavor and rat flavor.
I did not notice that.
I did notice that. That's in Brad Pitt's trailer, right?
Yeah.
That's funny.
It was cool to do, like when you open Tarantino movies in the last 20 years, they've all opened with this very distinct feature picture presentation thing that comes up with the music and everything.
Yeah.
And it was cool that they didn't do it off the bat, and I was looking for it, and then they eventually did it in the movie.
At the drive-in theater.
At the drive-in.
Yeah,
and I thought that was a cool.
That was a great touch. And one other thing I wanted to ask you guys about. So it shows Rick fucking Dalton in what's the movie called? 14 Fists or something like that.
Yeah.
And it shows him he's got the flamethrower. He blasts the Nazis with the flamethrower. He's got that patch over his eye. Is that supposed to be like a shout out to that Tom Cruise Valkyrie movie where he's got the patch over his eye? They're like the Nazi they're the Germans that are against the Nazis or whatever. I can't remember exactly what the plot of that movie is.
Does he kill him with the flamethrower?
I don't know. He was American.
I don't think he does. Yeah. Was he American?
Dalton was in the movie because he's like, "Hey, who wants your fried
right.
sauerkraut?"
That's right.
Yeah.
I think it might just be. I feel like movies back then they were like, "All right, we need to switch things up. Put an eye patch on him."
Yeah.
And I think it was just an easy prop for back in the day.
That also one of my other favorite scenes is when it shows him practicing with the flamethrower and he's like shooting it. He's like, "Whoa, this is way too hot." He's like, "It's a flamethrower."
That is good, man. There's some really good stuff in it.
Yeah, I mean, like just talking about it now, like makes me appreciate it even more.
Yeah, it's good, man. So yeah, go see it. We do recommend it, even if we gave it a middle of the road rating. It might not be the top of Tarantino, but Tarantino's better than the majority of anything out there.
It's an original idea, which is hard to come by nowadays.
Absolutely.
Before we get out of here, I wanted to bring something else up that most of you, because we are recording this in the state of Tennessee, so we have to bring up the fact that every single movie Tarantino has made has mentioned a city or the state of Tennessee.
Yeah, this one does too.
Yeah, so because he was born in Knoxville, and I actually took a trivia quiz the other day to see if I could name each state or city in the state of Tennessee that is mentioned in each film, and I got like 4 out of 8. I couldn't remember very many of them, but he was born in Knoxville, and that's something that I like is the fact that he pays ode to where he's born, in every one of his films. Cool. So I like to look that out. And we also wanted to bring up Red Apple Cigarettes, who've kind of made an appearance in most of all of his movies as well. And let me ask you this: did you guys stay for the post-credit scene in this film?
I did not.
No, it was 12:30 at night this morning when it went off.
I didn't know that there was one, and that's come to light since then. And apparently, it's a pretty long scene, or not that long, but it's Rick Dalton on the set of a very successful TV show. That show that they keep calling back to, and it's back then when he is at the height of his career, and he's trying to cut a promo for Red Apple cigarettes. And apparently he smokes one, and he's like, "These things suck," and then he starts tearing up the set because they're not letting him go off script.
I thought you were going to tell me he got the Soul Stone or something.
Right? Like, come on with the fucking post-credit scene. Like, can we just stop?
I'm kind of surprised Tarantino did one.
I'm really surprised. That's why I left. I was like, post-credit scene. There's no way in this movie.
It's kind of like hidden songs back in the '90s, like that they'd put on CDs,
Oh yeah, you have to wait.
Yeah.
It's making you wait.
Yeah.
And that's what I don't want to sit through.
Still a stupid
5
idea.
to 10 minutes of credits to see another little 30-second clip.
Yeah.
Just post that shit online.
Yeah. Or
There you
just
go.
put it in the goddamn movie.
Or that.
There you go.
All right. Well, we hope you enjoyed a special surprise episode from Cool Whip and Sugarcane's Redbox Movie Reviews today. We will be back next week with the guys from Raising Nashville.
Yep.
Next week, we're actually going to do a Tennessee-based episode. We're going to be talking about Jack Daniels, the history of Jack Daniels, and, a little bit about...
That sounds awesome.
Yeah.
Are we going to taste Jack Daniels?
I hope so.
Okay.
I love it.
All right. So stay tuned for another episode of Raising Nashville coming at you next week.
Don't jam up my Redbox.
Don't jam up my Redbox. Read it quick. I ain't got time to wait.